Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the preview of the Austrian Grand Prix and my predictions. Round 19, Formula 1 heads into the final 6 races of the season, and this one is a sprint race, the first of the final 3 sprint race weekends coming up. This one, the next one, Brazil, and then the final one in Qatar before their final in Abu Dhabi. So this is a great circuit for it, this one. Really, really good racing. It's a really wide track, so you get so many different racing lines into each corner, so much side-by-side action. Last year we had some brilliant action here, and I can't wait for this sprint again. Medium downforce circuit, 2 DRS zones down into turn 1 and turn 12. 59% full throttle around here, 20 turns and 56 lap race. Tyres for this weekend, we've got another one where we've got a jump from the hards to the medium, so it's a C1 for the hards, a C3 for the mediums and the C4 for the softs. So the 3 and the 4 stay the same as last year. We've seen Pirelli do this earlier in the season. I'm not sure how this will change things, because this year's tyres, the team seem to be able to make them last a lifetime, and so I'm not really sure what impact this will have, if any, on the racing. Strategically though, it is normally a 2-stop race because there's so much nursing to do to get around this circuit on a 1-stop, but with the harder being 1 step harder now, will that be more of a possibility? So we could actually this might just ruin things here at this circuit, where we'll go for a super hard and it'll, allow teams to go on to a 1-stop strategy. But generally we do see 2 around here. Weather conditions, warm all weekend, apart from there's a 30% chance of rain on Sunday late into the afternoon. So we'll see if that raises its head around this circuit. But the weekend is much anticipated, isn't it? Last year we got Ferrari having a brilliant weekend. They won with a 1-2 in the race. This year though, they come into this race with an awful lot of pressure on their shoulders, more than ever, some would say. No upgrades planned for this Ferrari car from now until the end. We're seeing lift and coast implemented more than ever, and I think really that might be Singapore specific more than what we're seeing in other circuits, because of the temperatures and it being a street circuit and the narrow tracks and big barriers and walls up around, so you can't get the airflow through into the braking as we've seen in other circuits. And hopefully that might not be as bad as Austin, and it's something that they really need to get on top of. No upgrades this weekend, but more talk potentially of Charles Leclerc moving away from Ferrari. Even more talk again, even though Fred Vasseur has just been given a new contract, 5-6 races ago, to just shut down this whole rumour of potentially him being given the sack, but it seems to have reignited again a little bit. More talk of potentially Christian Horner taking that seat. I mean, that Ferrari seat for Horner seems one of the most unlikely, because we know Christian's position of actually wanting some team ownership rather than just coming in as an employee position, and very unlikely to get that at Ferrari. But that talk not going away, and also talk of Charles Leclerc now becoming more disillusioned than ever and looking elsewhere for a seat, potentially McLaren, and potentially also Mercedes as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out, and if that is the case, will that give more or less wiggle room in the Russell to Mercedes saga of the contract talk still ongoing. Russell apparently now more disillusioned than ever. It's another word that we're going to just keep a theme of this video. Wanting to break his relationship with Toto Wolff, who is his his personal manager as well as a team manager, and him feeling that potentially he's giving more benefit to the team or consideration to the team than him, and not really having his back over the teams. And it's a really difficult and strange situation that we have, because Toto is an advisor and manager, or was, of George Russell, and then basically he's negotiating against himself because he represents and is an owner in the Mercedes outfit as well. So Yeah, it would make complete sense for George Russell to feel that way, and potentially also complete sense for him to go and find his own team manager, or you do what, take a leaf out of Lewis's book and just manage the contract negotiations himself. Depends how confident he is on that. But if there's another driver like Leclerc up and looking for a new seat, Max Verstappen potentially also after 26, you know, can Mercedes afford to lose Russell now? I'm not sure where Russell could go. There is potentially a seat, obviously that second seat in Red Bull that is opening up. That seems the only major seat in the top 4 teams. But why would Russell really want to do that now, when all the talk is that this Mercedes should be strong and title contenders for next season? So a lot of different dynamics being thrown in the mix. And another person that is disillusioned is Oscar Piastri. Struggled last time out, and yeah, he struggled at this circuit last time, and his relationship with his team and Zach Brown seemed to be under the spotlight heavily after Singapore, and rightly so. But the team at McLaren have been doing all their best with all the PR stunts they can pull off under the sun to show that Oscar is their man and their boy. Zach Brown driving in with Oscar Piastri in his car to the factory. Many photos of Oscar front and centre in the team celebrations. He is the man leading the championship. He is the man that has given the team the most points for them to take the Constructors' Championship early. So rightly so, he's getting his plaudits, but a lot of teams sort of saying, yeah, we can see why this is being done. You know, the PR talk around this is really not helping. It's just trying to promote Oscar, but everything else around this picture is not looking too promising for Oscar. We've also had the Alex Palou court case in the Howie Court between McLaren and Alex Palou, and within that has come out that Zach Brown kind of said, well, Oscar wasn't my choice, and I didn't want him in there, and yeah, it's not my fault that seat's been taken, Alex. And why you might have to wait a little longer, and yeah, that doesn't also, it's probably the worst timing for it, where Oscar's relationship is strained with Zach potentially, and the team, that was quite clear even on the radio when Zach came on congratulating him. He just pulled the plug and said, see you later, mate, and rightly so. And well, this adds just a little bit more fuel to the flames. So really interesting this weekend to see how the Papaya rules. I'm sure there'll be an awful lot of talk, hopefully from journalists asking the right questions to the team on how this might change now, after clearly the way this is, you know, engagement between the two drivers has clearly changed. Zach called it hard fair racing in Singapore, but they made contact. So is that now the new definition of what hard fair racing is going forward from here for the final 6 races? And if I was Oscar, I'd be like, yep, you've set the ground rules now. I'll be playing by them rules from here on in. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, if he can put that right this weekend. It's a circuit, obviously, he clearly really struggled at last season, but this season we've seen a real different Oscar, and I kind of hope that he comes in and just wipes the floor with everybody and takes the win. But let's see when we get to my predictions review. Yeah, on to the predictions for the sprint qualifying. I've got Max Verstappen to take pole position, George Russell in second, and Lando Norris in third place. Normally because, well, if Red Bull now are really absolutely on it. The upgrades in that car are working. They're bringing more upgrades. The only team that are bringing consistent upgrades now for every round up until the end of the season. Red Bull have sort of said, yes, we are bringing upgrades. It might hamper us slightly for next season, but it's a risk we're willing to take. And Max Verstappen still has a sniff at this Drivers' Championship. And if Papaya rules are blown out of the window and they do get a scenario where the two McLaren boys do take themselves out in just one of the 6 races, Max Verstappen can be right up there. It's a 33-point weekend, this one, with extra points for the sprint. and also the race. So it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out. For the sprint race though, I've got Max Verstappen to take the win, Norris in second, and Oscar Piastri to come home in third. For qualifying, I've got Lando Norris to take pole position, Max Verstappen in second, and Oscar Piastri in third place. And for the race, all change actually. I've got Oscar to take the win, Max Verstappen in second, and Lando Norris in third. Thinking there really is that if Norris is on pole and Verstappen's second, them two both run each other wide, and Oscar nicks in and takes that first place. I've got it all played out in my mind, and that's why I've gone for them predictions in that order. I think it'll be a good weekend for the Saubers. They're another team that are bringing upgrades for this weekend, and boy, do they need them. And hopefully Nico Hülkenberg can come in and pick up some points this weekend. And I'm predicting a bad weekend for Ferrari again in Austin. They did go well there last year, but this year and last year are poles apart for Ferrari, and they've had such a disappointing season because they've come into this season looking like the ones that will take the fight in the championship to McLaren, considering how strongly they ended last year. But they've built an absolute doggo car. They're lifting and coasting for more than 60-70% of the last race, and they're doing it significantly in most races, and that's an inherent problem. If you can't push that car for more than 2 or 3 laps without having to do that, then it's going to be a real struggle. Let's take a quick look at the championship. Not done that for a little while. Oscar Piastri leads the way, 336 points. His 22-point lead on Lando Norris, who's second on 314. Max not far behind on 273 points, 41 points behind Lando Norris, and 63 behind Oscar Piastri. And if you can take at some point a 25-point lead out of Oscar Piastri and a couple of wins to Oscar's sort of third, potentially even fourth places, McLaren could be in some serious trouble. And for the last couple of races, they've been way down, and the big surprise really was in Singapore, where everybody sort of expected McLaren to do better. The car didn't like it around there, but this circuit though really should suit them. They do like the medium speed corners, and that's where they've been absolutely phenomenal. So it's kind of why I've got them bouncing back for the race at least, and for qualifying for them to take the win. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren lead the way. They are now champions, 650 points, exactly double the points of Mercedes, who are behind in second on 325 points. They've jumped Ferrari now and got a bit of a comfortable gap, but it can all change pretty quickly because it's only 27 points on Ferrari, and who are on 298 points. That can all change really quickly, and the whole story of Ferrari being in the doldrums and not looking good, if they can get back in and start fighting somehow with Mercedes in second in the Constructors, it might not look too bad again. But overall there's no upgrades coming, so we can't really see where that might change for Ferrari. Fourth place, Red Bull now 290 points, 8 points behind Ferrari, and with the way Max Verstappen's going and how poorly Ferrari have been performing, I mean, we could see that change this weekend. Ferrari dropping down into fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. If it doesn't happen this weekend, it could happen the next, because Max is right up there in the hunt for on podiums and wins, and Ferrari are just battling for best of the rest at the moment, which is a downpour from where they've been previously. Fifth place man, our team are Williams, 102 points. They've got a 30-point gap on the Racing Bulls, who are on 72 points, so a bit of a better gap for them, because we see them pick up the lower points, and so they should be comfortable, unless we get something like Brazil, where we see Alpine pick up a huge haul of points, and they can, then get jumped. Don't kind of see that happening, but you never say never. I mean, Sauber and Nico Hülkenberg picked up a podium, and we've seen Isaac Hadjar do that as well. So it'd be really interesting to see what and how that plays out. Seventh place team Aston Martin, just 4 behind the Racing Bulls on 68 points, and Sauber back 13 points on Aston Martin and 55 points. So up to 6th place, I think, really is in the fight. They're them 3 really, but Williams I think they might be stung a little bit after what happened last time out and last season with Alpine taking the jump on them when they picked up that big haul of points. But Williams looks set, and they've been promising, haven't they? So interesting to see how that one pans out, because it's a real battle down in that mid-team with the rest of them teams up into the top 5, then 4 teams. Anybody can take any of them positions. Alpine a bit of a way back on just 20 points, and the way their car's been running, don't expect that to change anytime soon, and not this season. But there we have it. That's the preview. The sprint race coming on Friday, 10:30 p.m. start for Friday qualifying for the sprint, so a late one in the UK. Saturday sprint at 6 p.m, qualifying at 10 p.m, race on Sunday 8 p.m. UK times, all of them. So yeah, can't wait for the action to get going. It starts early on the Friday, and watch out for my Making the Grid Austin edition. I'm looking forward to go around back on a proper track after a couple of street circuits that F1 have been round, so watch out for that coming soon. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one, and let me know your thoughts of who you've got for your pole position and race winners for the sprint qualifying and the main race in the comments below. Look forward to reading them. Thanks for watching. See you then.